Oh, hello, friends. Welcome to Tiny Little Victories. And if you're new listeners, we're so glad you're with us today on the show. I'm your host, Jennifer Kite-Powell. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about holo technology and holograms with the CEO and co-founder of a Dutch company, Holoboxes, that makes holoboxes. Yeah, holoboxes. It's not Harry Potter. It's not Marvel movies. It's not Back to the Future. It's not Star Wars, where we're tuning in R2-D2 to project a message of Princess Leia. This is real life. And one of the things I love about holographic technology is that it still is about human connection. You know, it seems like such science fiction because we've seen it for the past 20 or 30 years in all of these films that we love. But the fact is, there's really just, I think, a couple of companies that are figuring out how to use this technology beyond entertainment. And Holoboxes is one of those companies. They are using the Holobox to connect patients and doctors in areas where there aren't enough doctors or there's not a medical facility for patients to go into and get care. This is a real problem. So we will not go off on a healthcare tangent. This is not just happening in America, it's happening around the world. So they have created a Holobox where a doctor can go into the box at a certain time and talk to the patient as if they're in the doctor's office. It's not a Zoom call. Nobody likes those. It's like sitting down, the guy in a white coat or a girl in a white coat across from you and telling them what's wrong. It's quite incredible if you think about it. They also have a smaller version called the Mini, which I really want on my desk because I want to have conversations with my mom and see her face while she's sitting there comfortably in her living room, not on a Zoom call. So I feel like we have come a long way with this technology. And one of the things I love about what Holoboxes is doing is that they're retaining the humanity in all of this. So technology, humanity, where's the middle ground? And I think holo technology is that middle ground. It really allows us to be with people, to have a feeling that you're with somebody, that they're reacting to you in real time. And you can do a lot of things with that. And I think André is going to talk to us about why they came up with this idea and how come it's so successful. So sit back and enjoy this episode with André Smith, the CEO and co-founder of Holoboxes. You know what? We're laughing, everybody, because our producer was counting down in Dutch. He's Dutch, and our guest is also Dutch. And André, the last time I saw you, we were sitting on a very lavish banquet at the Soho House in Barcelona. So how are you?
I am very good. And thank you for being here, Jennifer.
Yeah,
We had a lovely dinner together in Barcelona,
we did.
indeed. And it's nice seeing you again.
I know you too. And I remember the reason why I want to tell this story is because I remember that we were with a table of like older Dutch entrepreneurs, right? They were all like that very beaten, like second, third generation. And then you were introduced to me as like, this is the next wave, And I had been around with that first wave when I was living in the Netherlands. And I think I said to you, you guys are much nicer and easier, and your companies are way more interesting than some of these, because apps basically. So
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on with the Holobox? Because I remember you at Barcelona having the box there, and now you're everywhere. You're in hospitals.
Yeah.
What's happening since February with this box?
Yeah, well, I think parts of that, of course, is to be thankful to you, right, Jennifer? Because we had a wonderful Forbes article that you wrote, and that went completely viral. We're going to have some major news channels featuring us in the next weeks, which I cannot disclose. But so again, very thankful that you did that and that you gave us the platform to do that.
Oh, thank you. Wait, it went viral? What happened?
Well, I think the starting point was the Forbes article that we wrote with you about the Crescent Hospital case that we have, where we bring doctors to rural areas, which is an amazing use case considering our technology. which I personally also have I'm very attached to that use case, because
Yeah.
we can really make some impact in the medical sector in ways that we were not able to do before. But starting that article, there was like a wave of PR coming out of that. We were on
Okay.
Fox, on ABC. A lot of articles featured us, and that also resulted now in having conversations with governments about how can this technology on a government level help the medical sector to bring doctors to rural areas, and how can we as a government
Yeah.
create better infrastructure to lower the cost for our inhabitants equals patients, and b make it more efficient for the doctors to be anywhere in the country without having to travel, and bring the best quality to all the areas in the country. So yeah, that really started with the Forbes article that you wrote. So
Well, I
again,
absolutely love that. I'm glad you told me that story. I did see something on CBS. I think with this guy was saying my hologram's not as cool as Tupac's hologram, and I was
yeah,
like, well, good for them for being on CBS. But I want to
yeah,
go back to this to the Holobox for a second, because you've got a lot of use cases for holographic technology inside
yeah,
of your box, and I saw that box firsthand in Barcelona and was blown away by. I actually thought your co-founder was there, and it was so real. So in what,
yeah,
how is this helping patients and doctors? Because sometimes I think hospitals are the last, to adopt more
yeah.
digital technology. So I mean, how is that? Take us through that. Like, how does that work? A patient goes into the box, or the doctor goes into the box?
Yeah, well, maybe let me tell the story about how we came up with this technology,
I
how
love
it
it.
evolved to where it is today, and also I'm also going to tell you a story about how initially we started the company with that idea is now coming to life, like a little bit. So it was around 4 years ago that my wife, my brother-in-law, which is Marnix, the co-founder that you saw live inside of the box, and my sister started this company. And it basically started around, we had a similar death in the family, which made us realize, what if we are going to die? Can our children see us as life-size holograms? Answer to that question was no, there's no technology that could support such a question. So we started to develop a technology that could do that, went live with that, had a lot of PR coming out of it. Nobody bought it. It was way too futuristic.
So this started. I love this story, and I'm glad you're telling it. I wanted to let you finish, but I had to interrupt because so basically this started. This is like a family affair, and you guys were thinking about death, and then you
Yeah,
wanted to be able to see people, people that you
yeah,
love, and we're not there yet.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And working in that first period, we had a couple of people recording that, and that's when we thought, well, the idea was very beautiful, but this is not something that it's really close to our hearts in terms of dealing with death
Yeah.
all the time, because we're very alive, we're very here. But we did attend a TV show. It's called Over My Dead Body. In that TV show, they present 6, 7 people that are terminally ill, going to die. Also, very young people in their 30s, in their 20s, and you can see the last phase of their life through that TV show. One of the participants, they recorded some footage with us, because she said, well, I think it's beautiful to show this to my niece, my cousins. They are now very young. Maybe if they are older, they can see me as a life-size person. How was my auntie? I can give a message to my father, to my mother. This was a 32-year-old woman, a beautiful woman, full of life, full with ambitions, but was taken away from her. And the way she dealt with that whole situation was remarkable and very inspiring. We did record her. That was like 3 years ago. 3 months ago, she unfortunately died. And now I got a call with her parents like last week, and they asked me, "Can we see that footage?" It's like heartbreaking telling that story, but also on the other hand, very, very beautiful. So, and that was the time that I thought, like a couple of weeks ago, how beautiful is it that we can support this family with such footage of her daughter,
Absolutely.
aunt, this.
It's such a
Uh,
gift, right? It's like it's a gift.
yeah. So that's something that's really beautiful. So when we started that 3 years ago with that idea, nobody bought it, and I think cost wise, it doesn't match with what people can pay for it.
Mhm.
So we got a lot of PR traction. Then coming out of that story, a lot of companies saw the technology, and that's when we sort of pivoted, shifted into the event sector.
Okay.
And from there, we got a lot of conversations with companies within different areas, for instance, retail, hospitality, medical. And that's when, coming out of those conversations with hospitality and medical, we saw that our technology and our platform could support a lot of problems within specifically medical and
Mhm,
hospitality.
mhm.
So we're shifting more and more towards those two sectors. And now coming to the point that we are in medical and making real impact on health, it's very close to our initial idea of,
Helping
on a
people.
personal level,
Yeah.
yeah, creating a remarkable and creating a beautiful situation that can impact lives. And I think that's just to make the circle around. I think, and that's why I really love the fact that we are now going viral in medical, that the circle indeed is going to be round now, and that we are now making impact in people's lives, but while they are living,
Yeah. Well,
instead
I
of
love that journey for you because I think every good success story starts with like a passion. And I don't think that I do think we should talk about death more because it's the one thing that we all experience. Like, no matter what our values are,
yeah,
we're all going to die. Okay. And this is not a
yeah,
depressing podcast. This is a realistic podcast about you know, understanding that. And I love the fact that you and your whole family, basically, since you all work together, made this
yeah,
journey, because I think the one thing we're missing is this care, this connection between, life and death, healthcare, um,
yeah,
being around like physicians if you're in remote areas where you can't
yeah,
connect. I mean, so many people, healthcare system in the US is just busted, right? And
yeah,
you have a Holobox at a regional hospital in Dallas, Texas. So
yeah,
how the heck did that happen? Amsterdam, Dallas, Texas. What?
yeah. Yeah, so that's also coming out of all the events that we did.
Okay.
We got a lot of traction, we got a lot of PR. We are doing great things in several sectors, and that's when one of the employees of Crescent Hospital rang my phone and said, "Hey, I think this could be a perfect solution for bringing our doctors to all our remote clinics." And I said, "Wow, I really love that idea. Let's get in conversation. I will show you what the technology is about." He was immediately blown away by it. And that's
Wow.
when the ball started to roll. So we started to brainstorm with them to see how we can integrate this, what is needed from a
Mm.
technical standpoint. And then, yeah, we created the box, we did the installation, we did the first test, and that's when, yeah.
Do you have to like? I'm still love it that some guy in Dallas, Texas, where I live, actually called you up from all of the press, thinking we can use this. I mean, it's not even. It's a regional hospital, and I think the fact that this hospital recognizes that if you're
Yeah,
regional and you have areas where people can't have access to healthcare, and this is a big problem. People think, oh,
yeah,
it's healthcare everywhere. There's not healthcare everywhere. And
yeah,
getting a doctor into a box, right? And the patient can then talk to the doctor through the box is going to change
yeah,
people's lives. Is going to change people's lives. So, what was the time frame from when you had this conversation with this guy at Crescent Regional to when they got the first box? What was that, short or?
Well, it was, I think, in a time frame of 6 7 months, and also a couple of visits to Dallas. Met with the founder, met with the CEO, had good discussions about how can we integrate it and what is needed in order to make real impact and to bring that value to the sector. And I think that not only applies to the US in terms of having a shortage of physicians or qualified doctors, it applies worldwide. So I think with this solution, we can partially solve a worldwide problem of
Yeah.
bringing qualified specialists into rural areas or other areas. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to.
I like this focus on healthcare and medical with the technology, but I know that there's probably more money at the start with entertainment or retail or hotel boxes, because you
Yeah.
also have a lot of holo boxes in Netherlands. You also have a new box in Denmark, I think, at a hotel, a series of hotels. So
Yeah.
how is
Yeah.
that? What is that? How is that different from the experience with a hollow box being in a hospital versus a hollow box like greeting you when you go to check in at a hotel? Like, that? What's the
Well,
difference
it,
there?
it is. I think from a technical standpoint, we particularly target those sectors where the technology is quite the same. It's a physical place where it's very important to feel a human connection. And that's where what's in the core of our organization. We want to remain the human connection, even though that sectors are going to digitalize.
Mm.
Our belief is that even if a sector is going to be digital, then make it digital, but keep the human factor into it. And I think the human factor, uh, keeping that into the conversation, I think that creates value. And looking from a hospitality perspective, the human connection is of utmost importance. It's called hospitality. Hospitality is all about human connection. And that also applies to the medical sector, where, of course, it's very important for either the patient and the doctor to be very connected to each other in terms of trust, etc. So those two sectors are not even that um, different from
Mm.
each other. Looking at, for instance, retail, what we did with the 5 boxes next to each other, having a BMW in it, or looking at retail and then looking at the perspective of, changing your clothes, having a digital fitting room. Those are very different
Yeah.
use cases of
Yeah.
the box. They're
Yeah.
also out there.
Yeah.
So it's like an immense possibility, endless possibilities of things you can do with the box.
Yeah.
But we prefer to focus on those sectors where we can remain the human interaction, remain the human connection, and where that's very important. So that's why medical and hospitality are
Yeah,
those two
I
sectors.
love that you said you want to keep the everything's moving digital. AI is like eating the planet, right? And you're already experiencing like chatbots, probably where you shouldn't be in many ways. And I love that you said like it's going to happen anyway. So let's
Yeah,
keep that human connection. And the other thing I think is really great about this Holobox technology that you're doing is you're right about it's not just the US. I mean, I've lived in Europe for a long time. It's about creating a path to me
yeah,
to be able to ensure that people have this connection to medical services, a nurse, a doctor, a nurse practitioner. And, I lived in rural France for a while, and you would have to drive like 25, 30 minutes to get to a regional hospital. And
yeah,
I think about just even in the US, the consolidation of what's happening in healthcare. And there are times when there are actually people sitting at the desk at my doctor's office and nobody's paying any attention to you. You're just waiting
yeah,
endlessly. So the idea of having maybe a hollow box that lets you connect, and that human connection is so critical. I could go on about that because I think we're really losing that connection. I love it that you've working on a
yeah,
box that, but the other box I'm dying to ask you about is the mini. So you have
yeah,
the regular big hollow box, and then I
yeah,
think at Mobile World Congress I saw this almost Harry Potter sized,
yeah.
playing cards that he
Very,
had on the tray. Remember that? I
yeah,
mean, this
yeah,
box is what, like, how tall is this box? 24 inches? Like, what, to a
yeah. I
meter?
think it's around a 22-inch
Yeah.
screen
See?
built.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah,
But
that's a good
how
guess.
is that going to be used? Like I would love to have our producer who's maybe just laughing or not laughing on my desk with
Yeah,
me every day. I would love to put a little mini hollow box and have his little face in there so I could talk to
yeah,
him. I mean, what's the
yeah.
application of the mini hollow?
Well, research have found out while using the small box and the big box, there's of course a difference in terms of impact, because
Hmm.
having a person as a life-size human being in front of you, it's always have more impact than a small version. But having a small hologram in front of you still does feel very human, and that's the fact that you see a full body person that
Mm-hmm.
feels like he's standing in some sort of box. So still you have that human interaction that is a lot different from seeing it through a Zoom call or whatsoever.
Yeah.
So a small Holobox is mainly going to be used in also those two areas. For instance,
Which
hotels where you
hotels?
don't. Yeah, so it's going to be
Okay.
hospitality and medical.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly, let's say for medical, thinking about patient rooms, you have a lot of them. You're not going to put a large holobox in all the patient rooms, but what you can do is having a small holobox there in the patient room,
Hmm.
where maybe somebody is telling you to take your medicine, or you can have a live call with a nurse, but then in a small form, and it still has and remain that human interaction,
Yeah.
human feeling, but you don't need, from a cost perspective, a big one.
Yeah.
And also looking at from, because we're doing a lot of hotels with 30, 40, 50 rooms. Sometimes there's no budget or even the space to have a large one. So what we then do is we hang a small one inside a corner of a room or something like that. And you still can have a receptionist inside of the box,
Mm.
having a real interaction, feeling real human in an
Mm-hmm.
innovative way, but then in a smaller form. So in fact, the end goal is the same, only the experience might be a little different,
Yeah.
but it does not differ that much.
Yeah.
So
So the two things I want to know how that person, like, how is it that that person shows up in that box? Do they have to, and okay, let's take the concierge, for example. Let's say this,
yeah,
there's a mini or there's a big one. Is there a person
yeah,
actually standing in at her desk working and they ring the button on the hollow box? They push the screen. I've seen that touch screen. And this
yeah,
person has to get up and go in front of the camera. Is she or he or they in front of the camera?
yeah. Well, yeah. So that's basically what happened right now. It's like you receive a welcomes message once you step into the hotel.
Mhm.
Then you have several buttons on the screen that you can click on to know more about the hotel itself. But you also have a button, I want to speak to a live employee.
Oh,
That live employee is sitting at a studio at a centralized location, supporting 4 to sometimes 8 hotels with all those requests. So through our platform, they get a request coming in, they can pick up the call, they're being presented as a live hologram, they can support the visit at the hotel with all the questions they have. Um, we even now updating the system, which is going to be a huge update and even more focused on the whole check-in procedure and how we can, but cannot tell you
okay,
too
don't
much
tell me,
about
but
that.
my
But
mind is blown because I don't yeah, don't tell me all your secrets. Uh
yeah,
my mind is sort of blown here because this is also changing customer service. So
yeah,
so when I think a lot of people are going to like change taking away live people and putting them into chatbots or like they think it's a smart AI, but come on, you can tell when an AI, I can tell when an AI is talking to me
yeah,
because they're not listening.
yeah, and they're
and
not real.
and they're not real. And so this is
Yeah,
now asking some like a call, not a call center, but like customer services to see that that's a live call coming in, to step in front of the
yeah,
camera. That's not so much different than watching your phone ring on the desk behind the counter, right? Seeing the lines ringing and picking it up. It's only that person has to be on visually.
yeah,
Now, so
exactly. Yeah,
my question is, like, this probably also would be more difficult 10 years ago because people weren't that used to being on video calls and, being
true.
on screen. Do you think there's any friction there for employees that have to do that? Or do you think they feel more empowered? You know?
Well, I think COVID. That's when the time we started. I think that was, of course, it was a very bad situation, but on the other hand, it really
Yeah.
shows the world that you can be there virtually. It doesn't have the same human interaction and connection as having being in physical form with each other. But I think the world knows that virtual presence in some way has a real big value, and you can also shift your business model by going more virtual. But on the other hand, everybody is Zoom fatigue, and it's getting bored there through a Zoom call. So how is it then perfect that you have a, let's say, Zoom 5.0 and a next iteration in terms of experience and being there in physical form, and then interacting with each other?
Yeah.
Looking at a hospitality sector, you have like two options now. It's one, you have a check-in kiosk, which is fully digital, non-personal, no hospitality involved whatsoever, or B, you have the physical person standing on site helping
Hmm.
you. there's no gap in between. And the Holobox in our platform is particularly that gap in between where you go virtual, but still remain the human interaction and
I love
the
that.
feeling of it.
I love that. You're
So
filling the gap there between. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah, thank you. And that's yeah, coming back to your question um, about the whole live conference. Of course, it's the end goal to be there in fully hologram form without having a box involved, etc.
Yeah.
That's where we want to go 10,
Yeah.
20 years from now.
Yeah.
It's still
Oh,
not
okay.
possible, but that, and that won't be for a very long time. But the fact that we can be close to that idea is already very
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
forward thinking.
So I'm going to take that 10 to 20 years, which I don't think is that long from now, to be perfectly honest. So if you're talking 10 to 20 years, we don't need the box. We can be out of the box. I think that that's really close because I just think people hear these numbers. They think, oh, it's so far away. I mean, I can't tell you in a blink of an eye how fast the past 10 years have gone. I don't know about you, but you started this company, what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and look how far
Yeah,
you've come. It's no time at all. I mean, it's almost 2025 as it stands.
yeah,
But I want to go back to
true.
this little mini box and something that you said earlier. This idea
Yeah,
of looking at something and seeing a bit of a regular sized person in a box
yeah,
versus this sort of science fiction, Harry Potter trading frog on a box. That seems very much like the uncanny valley with robotics, when they're saying that people get to a point where they don't want it to be so human and then it kind of creeps them out a little bit. So, do you think there's any part of that? Oh my God, my mom's sitting in a mini box on my desk. I
yeah,
would love to
yeah,
have, I could see this being used with any care homes for
yeah,
people in to bring that because connection and loneliness is an epidemic. And I love the idea of the mini like in a a care home for people
yeah,
who need care that they can still have that connection, which they say helps people live longer. So I
yeah.
think the
It
mini, I mean,
does.
is that the hardest challenge with the mini? Is that these are shrunken people or that um it's cost is too high to get those in places?
No, definitely not. It's just that we have been long advertising and marketing the large unit, and we can see a very we can see the demand for the mini one is rising very quickly. It's because you have a lower threshold in order to use the technology, and indeed, in those cases, for instance, looking at people with dementia or something like that, you need to go back to a place where you have the connection or imagery from your past, because that can bring you back from a certain
Yeah.
aggressive state that people in dementia can have. I mean, we are working on projects where this, particularly the mini version, is going to be a solution to those kind of situations where the big one is not even that important for those kind of situations.
Yeah.
So really is a thing of in which particular way is the technology going to be used, and what is the best fit for that particular solution.
What are the I like that you say that. You're very practical, Andre. I love how practical you are because so many entrepreneurs are just like, yeah, I can fix all the problems in the world. But I love the
Yeah,
fact that your this hollow box with the hollow technology in two sizes, and I think you're right, like the practical application would drive the adoption in many ways, right? So for the mini, I'm really as somebody that's getting older, as someone that has an older mother, like as a consumer, I would really
yeah,
love to connect with her in that form, right? So is this part of also a market, this consumer, like getting the boxes to people on a consumer level? That just seems like such a long path when you're making such progress here with
yeah,
really impacting more people on a global scale.
yeah. Would you like to do that, to speak with your mother, like having just like a FaceTime call,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
with your mother in the box? Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. I think
She's
that
not going to be
that
here for much longer. And, I also would love to have those conversations recorded so that I can sit and talk to her, and I'll share a short story. Is that I had knee surgery, and I'm bionic now. I have two artificial knees, and she had come to
Yeah.
see me, and we were sitting there talking, and I was like, oh, I'm really gonna miss you, and I
Yeah.
miss her. And she said, look, this is just how it is. And she said, when you miss me when I'm gone, she said, when you want to ask me a question or you miss me, I want you to write that question down and know that I will answer it.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And I
Yeah.
just would love to have that, that mom in a box, so to speak. And I know it sounds morbid, but
Yeah.
life is so beautiful, and connecting with people that mean a lot, that fill your life up, whether you're a patient with your doctor or aging parent or a parent with dementia or Alzheimer's, PTSD.
Well, first of all, let's make that happen for you, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna
I would love it.
you. I'm gonna help you with that. I
Thank you,
think
Andre.
I think from a consumer perspective, uh, we in the team we had a lot of conversations about, because you need to have a focus area in order
Absolutely.
to make real impact in the sector. I don't see from a personal perspective it being a consumer product in the next couple of years. It doesn't mean that eventually the price need to be cut it until a
Yeah.
price point where also consumers can be able to profit from it, because I do think that holograms for an environment like a home environment in the future, it's inevitable. Holograms are going to be integrated into our daily lives. In what form, it doesn't matter, or I don't
Yeah.
know yet, but it will be there. And so from that perspective, for now, HoloConnects as a company doesn't focus on consumer or
Yeah.
going to the consumer market, because we think we need to make real impact on the business side of it, especially in the medical
Yeah, I think that
in
makes sense. I think that makes sense. I mean, eventually, I love what you said. Like that train's coming, right? That
yeah,
that singularity. Some new scientist has predicted by 2031 the singularity
yeah,
will happen. Hello, that's like six
yeah,
years and 4 months away. So
yeah,
I really think that your strategy, I mean, you're like, I know it's a great strategy, but I think it's so smart because we're going to get there anyway. But how
yeah,
can the hollow box and hollow technology make the most impact to people in the way we live our lives now? And I, at first, to be honest, when I just saw the BMW in the
yeah,
box, and I laughed because I was like, look at that BMW in there, right? And I thought
yeah,
that's such a cool novelty in a way. And then I realized
yeah,
how much money people spend on advertising. Like it's probably a game changer. It's that again, okay, it's a machine in a very highly sophisticated box, but you're creating a human connection because it's
yeah,
right there. You can touch it. Well, you can look at it. You can push buttons.
yeah,
So I hadn't put that extreme human connection together
yeah.
till this podcast with you. Like extreme human connection on every
Yeah.
level.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad that you received that message, um, and it's all for us. Also, the way we look internally in the culture of our company, everything is human connection related.
Yeah.
But that's all because it also started as a family culture where have the human connection with our children was so important. Um, and one of those cases where the human connection also really it's something that I'm really proud of. It's like an event we did for the United Nations a couple of months ago.
Well, tell us about that event. Tell us.
I'm going to tell you
Okay.
about it because it's very beautiful. It's like a CERF event, and this event happens at the United Nations headquarters in New York in order to raise money from different states to help people in areas where, for instance, there is war or you have tornadoes or something like that. So people in the worst horrible situations will be helped by those humanitarian actions. So what we did is we recorded people from Gaza, for instance, recorded people from different areas where they are in a particular situation that their voices need to be heard. So together with the UN, we went to all those places. They recorded people in that particular situation, telling about how their lives are today and how are they in need of help. And that was being presented at that same event CERF from the United Nations in order to raise money. Now, talking about the human connection, this is something that you can achieve with holograms that
Hmm.
you could not before.
Absolutely. And I think also with all the fake news out there, I mean, we have you're capturing real voices in real time, in real experiences. What's happening in Gaza, I can say it, you don't have to say it, is just terrible. And I
Yeah,
love that you're capturing this because it it could be, anything, a disaster. I mean, we have heat waves right now in countries that are producing
yeah,
most of our food, but they don't have any water. I mean, but seeing and feeling these people through this event that you did with the UN, I see where like that's a way to raise money, but also a way to point out like this is real. These are not
yeah.
manufactured AI created videos. This is really happening to people, to humanity.
Yeah, and I don't say that. I would not say that AI as a wave is not going to be integrated into holograms, because I do think that AI is going to play a crucial part for holograms as well. As long, I think, when it feels human, and when you also can switch to a real human interaction, and there's a fine line between this is AI and this is a real human. I think that's important to remain, and also to be, it's important to communicate to people when it's going to be AI, when it's real, because you can almost not see the difference anymore. And I find that, um, I think we should really think about, from a regulation standpoint, that you need to know
Agree.
when it's AI created or when it's human. So I think,
100% agree with you fully. I don't
yeah,
know why we can't have labels, like why this is a problem for people. And I think
yeah,
the people that have the problem are, like all white guys running these big tech companies where you have, other people saying, what's it going to hurt to put a label on it? How's it going to affect you? Because people
yeah,
are still going to use it. Like what I would
yeah,
love to know as a writer, I can 100% tell when people are writing with AI. I know people will laugh at me, but I can hands down, no one would talk like that. Right. And
yeah,
I see a lot of newspapers and media people say, this was written with AI. And even some big outlets have said, we're doing these basic news herding stories through AI. And
yeah,
you read them and you're like, well, this is garbage. Like,
yeah,
this is garbage.
yeah.
But at least they're saying it's AI.
Yeah, yeah, and I think labeling is good, because I don't think we can avoid it. It's inevitable that it's
Yeah.
going to be there.
Yeah.
And let's go hand in
Agree.
hand, instead of being scared of
Yeah.
what is you. But I think, from a journalism standpoint, even I can read if something
Yeah.
is done by
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
You don't
I
have to
think
be a journalist at all in order to
no,
see
you
that.
don't.
But
You do not have to be a journalist to know. I recently had said to
yeah,
somebody, I said, "Did you use AI to write this?" They're like, "Yeah, isn't it? Doesn't it sound great?" I'm like, "Oh, did you read this? Because it does not sound great." Well, what
yeah.
are some like? What is it that you want to do with Holobox over the next decade? Can we take 10 years and look at where you really want to be with the technology, with the company? Like,
Good question. I think 10 years, it's a dream for us to create real impact in the sector,
mhm,
to be disruptive, to change the whole way we look at the sector and we are handling in the sector. I don't think that we're not so attached to being a Holobox provider, but more being the service provider with a platform that creates a real use case,
mhm,
and not for entertainment or for celebrities bringing it inside of the box. No, real daily, day-to-day usage where people can profit from technology, in opposed to being replaced with something like that, which, by the way, in some cases is also going to happen with the Holobox. But there will be also other cases or other job that will arise by going digital. But I think at the core, we want to make an impact on the sector and provide services to those that were not be able before. There was a Holobox before.
I think that's great. And I think that is really when you have new technologies and you bring it to market, like, isn't that almost your obligation to help and change and transform? I mean, people always say, I want to be disruptive, but if you're making something that is needed, the disruption will
Yeah,
happen anyway.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it is a it is a hard road to find something to really have the perfect, fit with, okay, this is really needed, costly, it's the right fit, and it's all the right perfect fit between people using it and people buying it. So that's like
Yeah.
a constantly a a hard way, not a hard way, but it's quite hard to find that perfect market fit. But
Yeah.
we'll get there. I think we
I
are.
think you're smart about where you're going, right? You're very, very smart about where you're going. You're smart about the human connection. And I do think you will get there. And I do think it's this deprogramming of the idea that this is just an entertainment technology, right? It's that deprogramming of people thinking it's so science fiction, it's not applicable. I mean, Dick Tracy had a watch phone when they made the comic strip in the 50s, So I think
Yeah,
I think that the idea that you're taking technology and putting it in the world that people already walk around in is
yeah,
how we live with technology and use it to better our lives, because what's the point otherwise?
yeah. I totally agree, and thank you for the
Okay.
compliment. Yeah,
Well, I'm a big fan, and we're going to put in the show notes, we're going to put all the great places that you've gotten coverage, because I did see the CBS thing. It's pretty impressive. That guy's kind of goofy though. But
yeah,
at other places they can follow you and connect with you, and the Crescent Hospital. Sometimes I feel like I just want to drive over there and just check it out. But I've seen it. So I've seen it live.
yeah,
And
yeah. Well, probably you don't have to drive that lot, that much in the future, because
yeah.
probably some
Yeah.
near you there
That's
will be a
another thing.
clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank you for taking the time, and it's so great to see you again.
yeah.
And please work on that mini for me, that mini for my mom.
Yes, we're definitely gonna do that. And thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you,
being here,
Andre.
Jennifer.
Thank you. Hey folks, if you stayed to the very end of the podcast, I'm giving you a big hug. And so you also know that if you stay to the very end of the podcast, you get all sorts of secrets. And who doesn't love secrets? And here's a couple of secrets. I really am dying to get a mini box from HoloConnect. And so I'm working on Andre to give me that box, because I just want to put it on my desk, talk to my mom, see her in her living room on her sofa, talk to some of my friends that don't get to see that much anymore. Really want that mini box. I want to feel like I'm living in the future right now. Okay, so also I wanted to share with you, since you listened all the way to the end, my undying gratitude to you for all the listens, the likes, and the shares and the follows. We have really felt your love of sharing and caring and putting little stars there. So I know there's a lot of places you can be. I know there's a lot of emojis that you could give, but I absolutely am so thankful for all the emojis and stars and hearts that you've given to Tiny Little Victories on our social channels, which are on LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter. I don't care. And Instagram. So you can follow those, look at our notes. You can see all of that. You can also check out André Smith and HoloConnects in the notes. You can maybe bother him if you want a Holobox mini as well. And I want to tell you another secret that you've stuck around. I promised you t-shirts last time. Yep, those are going to be up next month. You can just order away. But here's another secret. In 2 weeks, on September 11th, we have a guest who is a futurist. She has an RFID chip in the palm of her hand. She wants to be cryogenically frozen to save herself to come out in the future. And she's immaculately dressed all the time, which I absolutely love. So come back on September 11th to hear a very interesting conversation with Briar Prestige, the entrepreneur, the futurist, and the woman that just wants to say, sometimes you have to ask a lot of questions to get the right answers. Stay tuned, and thanks for listening.